And the brand new shirt just came in. Hey, that looks dope. Alright, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be checking out the revised Max Power car wash shampoo from Turtle Wax. We're going to be checking out the differences between the old and the new to see what kind of dilutions you should be serving, how to properly use it, and to see if it's worth it or not. So, let's get into this. Alright, now before we're going to get into the main differences between these two on a chemistry standpoint, we're going to be focusing mostly on the outside. So the first thing that will probably catch everyone's eye right off the bat is the new design to the gallons. The older model is a clear, translucent, glossy look, and then the new formula, it's more of a matte type of not that translucent container. And also you're going to see right up here, it's going to tell you the 3 levels to properly dilute it and all that stuff. And on the new formula, it's actually going to tell you an improved formula for grease cutting and higher foam output. One last thing is that on the older bottle, right here, you're just going to see Max Power, you know, the Turtle Wax logo, and your 3 dilutions right there. And on the newer formula, as you could see here, it says that it's snow foam ready, or that it's going to be designed to go in a foam cannon. So we're going to be testing those two out. We're going to be making sure that these claims are what they say they are. And we're going to be making sure that the grease cutting capabilities and the foaming has increased. Alright, so for the testing, we are going to do 4 things for both of these products. The first one is we're going to be testing the pH level, especially on the new one, because it says that it has revised the formula, and on the back it even says for a light, medium, and heavy duty dilution, so that way you can adjust the pH level to whatever you would like to do for your vehicle. And we're also going to be checking out the grease cutting capabilities, because it is a selling point on the newer product, because because in the previous one it wasn't really that great with lubricity and grease cutting capabilities. And also one last thing, which is probably the most important for many of you, is we're going to be checking out the foam capabilities on the newer revised version, because my issue with the previous one, not only was it lacking in grease cutting capabilities and lubricity, for me it just wasn't foaming enough to cling onto the paint for a lot longer so I can get around the whole car. Now it says in the newer one that it has improved the foaming capabilities, and it's even made it a little foam sprayer ready little label on the side here. So it's quite a few claims they're already making, so we're going to be checking that out. We're going to be testing it with tap water, so just water straight from the garden hose, deionized water, and we're even going to check 2 different pressure washers, a lower end pressure washer and a higher end pressure washer, with and without tap water, so that way you guys can get an idea as to how much this will foam with your setup. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and recommendations on what to use for both of these products, because of course we're going to have to be checking out to see where we can properly use this, to see if it's worth it or not, and I'll give other opinions on that too. So with that out of the way, let's get started. In order to test the pH level for the dilutions provided, I will need to use a couple of tools and procedures in order to check for it. Of course, we have the soap, a paper and a marker to write our data, a measurement cup, and a pH testing device which will allow us to get an accurate number for each of the dilutions listed. And, of course, some gloves for safety. You can never skip this step. To properly dilute and test the soap, we will need to serve the correct amount of product and water in a container. Luckily, on the front of the gallon, it states the dilutions needed to achieve a certain cleaning level and even the pH on the back. It also has a short description about how to use it and where, which is pretty handy if you are uncertain as to how much soap you will need. The dilutions for using this in a foam cannon are listed below with only 2 levels of strength, but we will get to that in a bit. Now, in order to find the ratio numbers, I did some quick math by dividing the listed quantities accordingly. because I wasn't going to waste 1 gallon of water per dilution, so knowing the dilution ratio, we can get straight to the testing on the pH levels. After the calculations, I then serve a container of distilled water and mix in some of the soap according to the instructions on the gallon. I will start with the strongest dilution, and then will only add water to dilute even further for the lighter variants. Measuring the extreme dilution ratio, I get 14 ounces of water to 1 ounce of soap, and we get a pH of 9.5. I found this very odd because it does say that it is supposed to be a pH of 10, but as you can see, it is not. Next up is the aggressive dilution at 21 to 1, so I add 7 more ounces of water, and here we get pH bouncing between 9 and 9.4. It's bizarre because that is clearly not the pH listed on the back of the gallon, which is supposed to be 8.5, so I rounded it off to 9. Last but not least is the moderate dilution at 42 to 1, to which the gallon states is pH neutral or 7. I add water, already a bit confused as to why the pH was so far off, and to no surprise, I get a pH reading that is definitely not neutral, but at around 8.7 and 9. I've tried other pH testing methods off camera to see if I was having faulty equipment, recalibrated my pH tester, and to no use, the pH read the same numbers as mentioned. Now, this isn't something the general public should freak out about, but at the same time, I find it odd that Turtle Wax would state such information that is clearly not 100% true. At the heavier dilution, it's pretty accurate, but diluting any further and likely you are not going to notice much of a change. Alright, so for the point of this test is not to check for snow foaming capabilities, but just to see how much it can clean at a certain dilution ratio. Now on the gallon it does say use 9 ounces to a bucket of water, which in a 32 ounce container for a snow foam, foam cannon, it is roughly about 2 ounces, 1.9 ounces per 32 ounces of water. So I gave it the little extra boost by putting 3 ounces of product in a 32 ounce container to see how much it can actually clean, because that was the main selling point that they're trying to make right here. So we're going to be checking that out in this little time lapse right here for you. Now this demonstration was not intended for detailer style swirl free wash, so you will see some janky wash techniques here, but that is okay because I am testing this product on my work fan, which has collected some grime, bird dew, and dust for the sake of this video. Now, a light rinse was called to order to make sure that the loose stuff doesn't interfere with the test. Now, I'm not going to wash the whole van, not only would it be a longer video, but most of the grime is located on the front of the vehicle, so the test will go on focusing on the hood, glass, and trim. I followed the so-called foam cannon ready solution that Turtle Wax has named, and despite adding 3 whole measured ounces of soap in the foam cannon, it did not foam up at all. I mean, sure, there was some suds here and there, but unfortunately, there wasn't any foam of some sort at all. Now, I did say we are not focusing on the foam just yet because I wanted to see how much the product can clean at that dilution. So, getting to town with the contact wash, I started scrubbing away with some questionable wash techniques. As I was gliding the mitt over the surface, I started to notice right away that there is almost no lubricity in this formula. It feels just like regular water with some soap, but lacks lubricity, which can be risky if you are aiming for a swirl-free wash. Not only that, but because this product lacks foaming capabilities, the product either already dripped off or dried on the paint. I will talk more about foam in a bit, so let's see the results of the contact wash. Alright, so now we're going to inspect the paint. Now, as you could see from like the little time lapse that I made, I did not clean the glass because I noticed there was some grime and bird dew on the top. So I wanted to see how good it can chemically clean the surface without touching the vehicle. So we're just going to be checking that out. Now, the surface looks pretty clean, and it feels a little gritty here and there. You're going to see some stubborn bird dew here and there, and that is using the most I was using the most aggressive dilution ratio, and yeah, it looks pretty clean, but there's a bit of bird dew here and there all over the glass. So it tells me that this soap cannot chemically clean without a contact wash. So doing the pre-wash and all that stuff before the contact wash, I don't think it's going to be efficient or ideal to use this soap because it doesn't look like it's going to clean very effectively. And as you can see, I also did not touch much on the bottom trim. It looks pretty clean, to be very honest with you, but there's just a bit of bird dew here. I guess that's the only thing this soap is struggling with is acidic grime that's on the surface, which is basically bird dew. So overall, pretty good so far. Alright, next up in the test, we're going to be checking out the snow foaming capabilities. Now, I do have a Trinova foam cannon, and we're going to be mixing in a 1-to-1 dilution of the product. Now, I do understand that it's going to be quite a lot of product that you're going to be using, but just as you saw in the contact wash, even at 2 ounces for a 32 ounce of water, it didn't foam that great. And I don't think showing the older one's going to do any better because it's, to be honest, it's actually worse on the older one. So there's no point in even showing a demonstration of that. But for this specific newer formula, we're going to be following the instructions on the back, because what's a little bit weird is that despite it telling you the specific dilution ratio to use for light, medium, extreme, or in this case it's moderate, aggressive, extreme, despite them telling you the dilutions right on the front of the label, on the back it actually tells you, foam sprayer, use a dilution of 1-to-1 50% strength for maximum foam and cleaning use at full strength. So that's a little odd for them to word it, despite them giving you 3 dilutions with a lot of explanation for each one. So I guess we're just going to have to follow the instructions on the back, because it says use 1-to-1. So we are going to use 1-to-1. And in terms of the machines we're going to be using the Greenworks 1.2 GPM pressure washer, and then we're going to be using the Krenzla 2.1, I believe, GPM. The pressure doesn't really matter because it's mostly the flow you want to get more foam output. So we're going to be testing this dilution ratio with both pressure washers, and we're going to be testing it again but using deionized water. By the way, in this one we're going to be using tap water for the start, and then we'll go on with deionized water. So let's get into it right now. Alright, so we're going to be testing out the 1-to-1 dilution with tap water using the Greenworks 1.2 GPM pressure washer. So here's the solution, and we're going to start foaming right now. Alright, so here we go, and that is really runny. Much better than, for sure, much better than the previous dilution we had with 2 ounces in a 32 ounce container. So we are following the instructions of this product. So as you can see, it does foam, but it's pretty runny. I mean, that is to be expected with a lower end pressure washer at 1.2 GPM and using tap water. So this, for some people, this would be okay. This is more than enough foam. But if you're looking for that shaving cream foam and you're using a lower end pressure washer with tap water, this probably might not be it for you, since as you can see, it already dripped all the way down. So yeah, this is the results. Straight up tap water, 1.2 GPM at 1-to-1 dilution. So we're going to switch it up to the Krenzla machine, and we're going to see how it performs with a higher flow in the pressure washer. Alright, so we swapped it over to the Krenzla 1322 TS at 2.1 GPM, still using tap water with the 1-to-1 dilution in the foam cannon. So let's check it out. Alright, now as you can see, it actually, well, at the initial squeeze of the trigger, it does foam a lot better because there is just a lot more water coming through. But it's still the same scenario using tap water. This is pretty runny soap here. It's pretty translucent if you try to take it off your hand. It actually clings on a lot better, surprisingly. So we're going to swap it over to deionized water. We're going to see how it foams well. Alright, in this test now we're going to be checking it out with deionized water. So that basically means there's no minerals in the water and it's just pure H2O. So that way we can get the best foaming results possible. Now we are still going to be using the same two machines for both tests. And the first test that's going to go on right now is the Greenworks 1.2 GPM. And we're going to still be using the 1-to-1 dilution in the foam cannon with deionized water in the foam cannon. So that way we can get the maximum amount of foam out on the vehicle. So let's check out these results. Oh my goodness. As you can see, there is so much more foam coming out of the foam cannon because we were using deionized water. Like, man, this is quality foam. See how much more thicker that is. I mean, it's not crazy amount of shaving cream foam because we are using a 1.2 GPM pressure washer, but still, this is a massive improvement compared to using tap water. So yeah, this is some pretty good results. Considering that this shampoo doesn't really foam that well. So this is actually quite impressive. Alright, so now we swapped over to the Krenzla 1322 TS at 2.1 GPM, and we're going to be using deionized water for the foaming process. Again, same routine, same procedure as the previous one, 1-to-1 dilution with deionized water in here, and we're going to see how much it foams with a different pressure washer. So let's check out the results. Alright, now do the results speak for themselves. Look how thick the shaving cream is. My goodness. See that what a huge difference deionized water and a higher GPM output does. Man, these are some crazy results here. Like, goodness, that is some thick foam right there. Like, you can't even see through my fingers. My goodness, like the other ones, they were translucent, which is like super watery foam. But wow, that's impressive actually. The differences between tap water and deionized water, and you guys saw how it was clinging onto the paint for a while. The previous tests, even the 1.2 GPM with deionized water, it gets runny really quickly, and it will start sheeting off the paint a lot faster than if you were to just foam the car, then quickly do a contact wash and everything. So yeah, these are some pretty good results. Now, I know there's mixed opinions about whether you should use tap water, deionized water, high foam, low foam. It doesn't really matter. It's pretty much personal preference. What do you guys want to do? Do you want high foam? Okay, then just put more soap. If you want much more clinging action, I would probably switch to deionized water so that way it can cling onto the paint for a lot longer. So yeah, you guys should take these results into account and make a decision to see if this shampoo is for you or not. Alright, now, so in conclusion, is the revised Max Power car wash shampoo worth it? It's really hard to tell because compared to the previous version, I personally have not seen very much difference between the revised version and the older version. Now, we've even tested it out with our pH measurements and all that stuff, and we've already calculated the dilution ratio and also what the pH is for each of those ratios. And it's confusing, really, because in the back of the gallon, it tells you what dilution to use, and it even tells you what the pH is going to be. Now, of course, there could be a margin of error if it's like 0.5 or 0.2 pH level. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But when the most aggressive is pH of 10, which seemed pretty fine at first, but then once we dropped it all the way down to the lightest option, which is supposed to be pH neutral, that clearly is not pH neutral. A pH of 9 is far from neutral. Now, coming back to the point of is it worth it or not? Now, when it comes to value, I say it's a good option because at the Turtle Wax website you can get this for about, if I recall, $11 USD, which and by the way, there's 100 ounces in this gallon. So if I do the math right, $11, yeah, $11 divided by 100, that's 11 cents per ounce, which is really valuable compared to the other soaps out there. Now, I'm not trying to make a direct comparison, but I'm talking about in terms of value per ounce, you're getting a lot of bang for the buck for this soap. Now, is it worth it? If you're a detailer, this can come in handy if you're going to do several things. So, from a detailer perspective, it's really great at removing waxes and sealants. However, it is not good with traffic film, and neither is it good at lubricity. Now, we have to keep in mind, when it comes to pH levels, anything between, I would say, like a 9, 10, and 11, it's going to start stripping the waxes or the sealants that are on the vehicle. To remove traffic film, you need to be at the high alkaline level, so 14, 13, 12. Usually your all-purpose cleaners and degreasers will do that trick for you, but in terms of like how to detail a vehicle, this cannot cut through traffic film, but it can remove waxes and sealants, so it's actually a good soap to keep in hand if you are polishing quite frequently. Now, for the weekend warrior that isn't, polishing all the time and just needs a soap to just clean the car, I would say no to this one, just because it has a higher pH level. If you're maintaining your car, for instance, washing your car every week, I would not use a soap like this. I would stick to something that's pH neutral. Soaps that have a lighter cleaning capabilities, especially if your vehicle is garage kept. So I would look for something a little less aggressive than this. Now, coming back to the detailer's perspective, if you are going to be applying this in your business, I would stick with the APC rinse no matter what, because it's not going to cut through traffic film. I would stick with a all-purpose cleaner or a super degreaser, and then you can follow up with a contact wash with this. However, because it lacks lubricity, I would not use this on a polished vehicle, because without that lubricity, you're not going to have that safety net of, in case you do have a particle that's been left behind, you do not want to swirl the car any further. So because it lacks lubricity, I cannot recommend it for vehicles that had been polished recently. I would get something with more lubricity, more foam, so that way you have a cushion to safely wash the vehicle. Now, in terms of foaming capabilities, you're probably just going to have to follow the instructions, what it says here. If you're using tap water and you're using a pressure washer below 2 GPM, you're going to run into problems in terms of foaming capabilities. You already saw it in the examples that we were doing. So I'm just going to wrap up the video here. An overall rank for this, I would give this a C+. It's not the best soap out there, but neither is it the worst one out there. It has really good value for what it has, so I can't really be too harsh on it, but neither can I be too light for its claims that it's giving here. So overall, a pretty good soap. If you're wanting higher foam or higher cleaning capabilities, you're probably just gonna have to look elsewhere. But if you're looking for something a little bit on the lighter side, more of like a really quick wash, don't really mind too much about swirls or any of that stuff, overall, pretty good soap if you want to check it out. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I really do hope that this was informative for you, so that way you can apply the same testing, or even I would say like just understanding what value you can get from different car soaps. So hopefully this video taught you a thing or two when it comes to purchasing a soap of your choice. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe down below to see any more future videos like this down the road. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Have a good time, guys.